Welcome to Rabai's Story, where every tale is a gift, told under the rhythm of rain and the roar of thunder. Settle in, let the storm surround you, and let the story unfold. Enjoy the ride. It was already past midnight when I missed my last train. I had been out with friends, having a drink and chatting at a small bar on the outskirts of town. Time slipped away like it always does in those places, and when I checked my phone, I saw that I'd missed the last train by 20 minutes. It wasn't a big deal. The night was chilly, but it wasn't unbearable. I knew there was a late-night bus that passed by every half hour, a route that ran from downtown to my neighborhood. I'd taken it plenty of times before. So I pulled out my phone, checked the schedule, and saw that the bus would be there in 10 minutes. I started walking to the bus stop, the streets deserted and dimly lit by streetlights. The air was still, with just the occasional rustle of leaves, and the only sound was the distant hum of the city. It felt like a typical night, but that was the last moment I thought anything would be normal. The bus stop was empty when I got there. It was an old, faded shelter with broken glass panels and a worn bench. I wasn't the only one waiting. There was a man in a heavy coat standing by the pole, his face shadowed by the brim of his cap. He didn't look up as I approached. I took a seat on the bench, checking the time again. Another 4 minutes. I leaned back, pulling my jacket tighter against the cold. As I sat there, I noticed something strange. The streetlights flickered, their dull yellow glow flickering off and on, like they were struggling to stay lit. I'd never seen that before, not in this neighborhood. It made everything feel off. I shook it off. It was late, and I was probably just tired. But then the silence hit me. There wasn't a single car passing by, not even the usual hum of distant traffic, just absolute stillness. I checked my phone again. 2 minutes. I glanced at the man standing near the pole. He hadn't moved, not even when a strong gust of wind whipped through the streets, sending a chill up my spine. It was odd. The wind was cold, but the man's coat didn't shift. His posture was stiff, unnatural. I stared at him, trying to shake the uneasy feeling creeping up my back. Something wasn't right. The bus still wasn't here. Another minute passed, and I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. The wind picked up again, but this time, it didn't feel like the wind of a typical night. It felt heavier, colder. I glanced around, the shadows of the alleyways and empty buildings seeming to loom larger, more oppressive. The night seemed to have swallowed the whole block. I could see the bus approaching in the distance, its headlights cutting through the fog. But there was something strange about it. It was moving too slowly, much slower than a normal bus, and the headlights, they looked wrong, dimmer, like they were fading in and out. I stood up, shaking off the growing feeling of dread. The man by the pole hadn't moved. The bus pulled up to the stop with a low screech of its brakes. The doors creaked open, but there was no driver. No one was behind the wheel, just the faint sound of breathing from somewhere inside. I froze. A chill ran down my spine. Something told me I should walk away, leave the bus stop, find another way home, but the thought of being stuck out here in the dark, it made me feel trapped. I looked at the man again. He hadn't moved an inch. Without thinking, I took a step toward the bus. My feet felt heavy, like they were being pulled toward it. I knew I should turn back, but something about the stillness of the night, the emptiness, was drawing me in. I stepped onto the bus. The inside was dimly lit, with the soft hum of the engine reverberating through the walls. The seats were old, frayed, and the air inside smelled stale, like dust and something else, something metallic. I moved to the back of the bus, my steps echoing in the silence. I felt eyes on me. That's when I noticed it. The man from the bus stop was already sitting in one of the seats. I hadn't seen him get on, hadn't heard the door open, but there he was, sitting motionless, staring straight ahead. His coat was open now, revealing a pale, lifeless hand resting on his knee. I sat down on the opposite side, my heart pounding in my chest. The bus started moving, gliding through the empty streets, as though the wheels themselves were gliding over fog. The windows were too fogged up to see outside. It felt like we were moving through a tunnel of mist. I wanted to ask the man if he knew what was going on, but I couldn't speak. My throat was dry, my chest tight, and then I heard it, the breathing. It was coming from the front of the bus, where the driver's seat should have been, slow, ragged, like someone was straining to take each breath. I turned my head to look. There was no one there, no one in the driver's seat, but the breathing was still there. Louder, now. I stood up, panic rising. The bus was still moving, gliding silently through the empty streets. I moved toward the front, but just as I reached the aisle, the lights flickered, the air turned colder, and then just then, I saw it, the figure in the driver's seat. It was no longer a human shape, it was tall, hunched, its limbs elongated and twisting, the eyes, two hollow, black pits, locked onto mine. The air around it felt thick, like it was pressing in on me. The figure's mouth opened wide, revealing rows of sharp, jagged teeth, but no sound came out. I couldn't move. My legs felt like stone, frozen in place. The figure didn't move either, but the bus was speeding up, faster, faster, until the buildings outside became a blur. I felt the unmistakable pressure on my chest, like something was trying to crush the air out of me. Stop the bus. I managed to scream, but the words barely left my mouth. The figure in the driver's seat tilted its head slowly, unnervingly, and then the bus slammed into a turn so sharp, I was thrown against the side. The sound of the tires screeching on the asphalt was deafening, but when I looked out the window, I saw nothing but darkness. No lights, no street signs, no landmarks, just endless black. I looked back at the front of the bus. The figure in the driver's seat was gone, and then it spoke. "You're never leaving." The bus continued on, no destination in sight. The man in the coat turned to look at me for the first time, and his eyes, empty, hollow, stared through me. I realized, with a sinking dread, that he wasn't a passenger. He was just like the driver, and I had joined them. The bus didn't stop again.